Hey, my Martin here, and welcome to episode 11 of my advanced modding tutorial series. The upcoming episodes will be about how to use APIs and how to write APIs. This episode will be an introduction episode about how to do that, and we're going to start simple by doing working with FML intermod communications, or also known as IMC. So IMC basically uses the events we're used to allow you to use and create very simple to use APIs. APIs, application programming interfaces, are used as a connection between mods. So a mod could open up certain doors you can use in your you can walk through in your mod, basically. So IMC you can use for a lot, but for a lot of simple things usually, and that's what we're going to do right now. I'm not going to use any external mods for now. That will come in next episode, when we're going to do a full-blown how to use and how to write APIs tutorial, and maybe tutorials, probably, actually. But for now we're going to, create a way of sending IMC messages and also receiving IMC messages. And let's do that. So the important thing to note with IMC is that it's very simple, and it doesn't force you to import any of the code of other mods. When you're dealing with APIs, you usually want or need to even include the source of the mods in your development environment. And the reason for that is because Java needs to be able to compile the code, and if you're referencing code of another mod but it doesn't exist, it will throw an error. So that's that. So I've opened it already, the class of FML intermod commons, and basically this when you send an event, you're sending a message to a mod, and that mod can receive it on their side, and it will be posted as a single event for all messages posted to the mod. Sounds a little bit vague, but let's just get started. Now, because it's an event, you shouldn't think you can just put it in our event handler, like in here. It's actually a special event, it's an FML event, and those need to go in here with where your add mod annotation is. So we do mod.event handler public void on IMC messages, and it's the FML. Let's just look how it's called, the IMC event. So not much new here. Also, a thing to note is a mod can send events in the pre-init and the init. Either will do, preferably in the pre-init if you can already. So that's what we're going to do in the example as well. But those messages don't get received right away at the receiver. Instead, they will be sent between the init and the post-init. So after the init of all mods have finished, then the IMC event will be called on the receiving mod. So we can just make sure it works by saying mod.info IMC, receiving IMC. And again, IMC stands for intermod communications. Oh, it's not. I didn't even say that. Anyway, intermod communications. So let's just make sure. And We should be able to find it in here. There we go. Initialization complete. Receiving IMC post initialization complete. So that's a proof that it's called between init and post init. So when you look at that IMC event, you can see you have access to a list of messages. So these are all the messages that have been sent to you from other mods, or your own mod if you're sending to yourself. That's possible. And that's basically all you need. And those messages, you can see right here, have a sender. So that's the sender ID, the mod ID of the sender. So when we send a message to another mod, the mod can see that we have sent it by looking at our sender ID, and that's the same as the mod ID, which is advanced mod. And the key. So basically the idea is, when you've got a mod, it's entirely possible that you have got different IMC meanings. So, for example, you can have a mod which allows you to add facades, like in Buildcraft, but also allows you to add recipes for, like the assembler thing, and that all. So you want to be able to distinguish those. And, well, you can do that by using keys. So you can see one key can be add facade, and the other key could be add recipe X, whatever. And the value is the actual, the thing you're trying to say to that mod. So when you say add facade, you also need to say which facade, which block needs to be used as a facade, and that kind. There are only a few values you can use, a few payloads, you could say, in your IMC message, and those are strings, MBT tags, and item tags. And you can also check if a message has one of those types. So what we want to do, let's think about what we actually want to be able to receive in our mod. Let's maybe add a blacklist for stacks you can't use in a camouflage of a camel mine. So let's first jump to the camel mine and maybe do a public static list of all item stacks you can't use in a you can't use as a camouflage. Black camouflage. Blacklist. Blacklist is one word. Okay. Okay, we're going to add to that. Let's import error list, and let's go to where we actually are blocking anything from going in a camouflage slot. Is item valid for slot? We're checking if the get item instance of item block boolean is valid. If is item equal stack, return false. We can actually move this downwards and say return that. So this is where we're going to loop through all added blacklist item stacks. And for every blacklisted item stack, we're going to check if it's equal to the stack that's being tried to put in the camel mine. And when that's the case, we're going to say, nope, you can't enter this camel mine. Pretty simple, right? Now we just need to fill in this list. So we're going to do that by receiving the IMC value. We're going to, well, event dot. Well, we're going. First of all, we're getting a list of all mods and all messages that have been sent by other mods, and so let's loop through all messages because we're going to look at them separately. So for IMC message event get messages. Import that, and then we say if the message well, is an item stack message, and the message well, just access the key right away then, equals, or well, equals ignore casing, so we're not bothering with uppercase and lowercase. I'd like to reverse those. Just, I don't know. We say camo mine blacklist. So, like I said before, we're going to use this key to say what we're actually in what category we're telling a mod something, and the value is being used to actually say what you want to say. You could basically see it as an address and a actual message. So we're going to get the item stack, blacklisted equals message dot get item stack value. So when we determine it's an item stack message, we're going to get the item stack from that message, and maybe you can do some sanity checks if we want. If blacklisted stack is not null. Well, I think that's checked in the is item stack message. Yeah, it's basically is. But get item. Well, let's not do any sanity checks. You could do that. That's a good practice actually. Everything you're going to receive from others, from the outside world, you want to check if it's sane, if it doesn't contain any weird values, and only do something with that, because else you can get some unexpected behavior somewhere else in your code and you're like, what's causing that? But if you checked it right before anything else, then you will get an error right where you'd like to see it, which is where the cause is. Well, we can do that then. Blacklisted item stack. Blacklisted stack. Get item is not null. That happens sometimes. And actually we're going to throw an exception for that. Item stack tried to be used in registry by a mod. Let's get the percent. By the mod has a null item. And we're going to give the mod message.getCenter. So, when it is sane, we're going to edit. So tile entity camo mine. Because we declare it static, we can just do it like this. Camouflage blacklist.add blacklisted stack. And maybe just for fun, we're going to add a info mod. Added a item stack dot added that to be blacklisted as camouflage for the camo mine. We're going to give it the sender again. And we're going to give it the blacklisted stack. I'm not sure, does it have any nice way to put it? Does it look like it? Boo. Alrighty. And actually, I'm doing this just to show you it works. But in the end, I recommend not putting that there, because that just fills up the console unnecessarily. So that's about it. We could do a else log that warning mod used a invalid IMC key. And that's the sender again. And that's the key. So a lot of sanity checking here. And that's what you basically want to do when you're dealing with APIs. You want to check everywhere where it can go wrong and give a warning or throw an exception dependent on how bad it is. For example, if you are changing this key later, at later versions, this will get triggered, and you don't really want to throw an exception then, because that will make mods completely incompatible, where only a warning will give the modder an idea that the key must have changed, and it can adapt to that, and when it just loses some compatibility for that time. Now I'm saying when you change this name, but you really should prevent changing your API too much. You should try to keep it keep it the same, so modders don't have to adapt to every change you're doing. So this should be called, well, it shouldn't do anything at all actually, because we haven't sent any messages, and so we can't receive any. So let's send some, or one. Maybe let's do it here. So to send IMC messages, you can do fml enter mod comms, send message, and there are 3 types of those, of which you want to send this one. and we want to send it. So there's a mod ID, a key, and a value parameter, and those are quite similar to where you've got them right here. So the mod ID is the mod you want to send the message to. That's right. It does make sense, doesn't it? So we want to send it to the advanced mod, and we could do reference mod ID. But you usually don't send messages to yourself. So what I usually do is create a utility class or a reference class where I put in all my mod IDs I'm referencing to. So I've got like IC2 and CFH and that kind. So when they decide to change their mod ID, which I don't expect them to do, but still, I can just change it. And usually I forgot about what the exact mod ID is of a certain mod, if it's in uppercase or lowercase and that kind. There's really a standard for that. So anyway, continuing, moving on. The key is the same key as this one, so we can just say we want to add a camel blacklist, and we also want to give it an item stack. So let's say new item stack, and say stone dot new blocks dot stone. So now stone is excluded, and now we should be doing something. So when we restart, we have to restart here because IMC messages only are sent at initialization time. Did I miss it? Dun, 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 dun. Aha, receiving IMC, mod events mod added tile.stone to be blacklisted as camouflage. So when we go to our camouflage, which we don't have a creative tab still, give layer advanced mod camo line. So when we put in we try to put in a stone block, this goes well, but putting in stone, nope, not gonna happen. So it seems to be working. Let's experiment with giving some invalid arguments. Will this work? Wasn't sure what were to. It would be working. So let's do block or item. Let's give it a nil item. Sometimes modders are too I'm saying stupid. It might be a bit harsh, but they are too stupid to get a null item in an item stack. An item stack also always should have an item. And there we go. And did it crash because of our exception we threw? Yeah, there we go. Item stack tried to be used in a registry by the mod. Has a null item. And now let's test sending a message which doesn't even contain a string as a item stack as a message, but just a string. Lol. So maybe a modder thought he should add a blacklist by putting in something like Minecraft stone as a way to specify which block needs to be whitelisted, and we're going to say nope to that. Oh, we actually don't really look for that, so we might want to do that. We're going to do if that. Maybe it's kind of in between for me whether or not I would throw an exception or not. I think I would just do a warning. Or send a string message where an item stack was expected. Like that. There we go. Oh, a non-item stack message. And so this also should work when we're supplying a MT tag. I'm going convinced that will work. And let's now just do a new item stack. Block that stone. Blocks dot stone. There we go. And let's make a typo. And see what happens. So I realized this is a reasonably simple episode, but I want to do some introduction to how to use APIs, and that's what you have. There we go. Use an invalid IMC key. So you might wonder how to get to know which IMC messages you can use for certain mods, and I'll just show you some examples and you can go from there. Let's first look at Buildcraft. So I've opened up the GitHub for Buildcraft, and because we know that our IMC receiving needs to go in the same class as the add mod class, you just have to find the add mod class of a mod and you can see if they are using IMC. So we're just going to look for IMC. We see that Buildcraft forwards it to a certain class. Buildcraft core into mod comms. Core into mod comms. So you can see the methods that's called from the event, and that's this one. So you can see it allows you to add facades or blacklist facades, or a lot. And you can go from here. So these are the keys, and the values are probably in the you can get to know them from there. So another one. When looking at Buildcraft, he just put the intermod communications options in the README, so that's nice. So these are a few examples where you really want to know which IMC messages a mod is listening for. Just look at the source and go to the add mod and try to search for IMC. So this was it for today's episode. Next episode will be continuing on how to use and how to write APIs. See you all then, and bye bye.